Thank you for joining us live on Radio Gibraltar and for the next 20 minutes, 17 minutes, also on GBC television. Tinnitus Awareness Week is an annual event. It, of course, helps to raise awareness about tinnitus, which is a common condition characterized by the perception of noise or ringing in the ears. It could sound something like this. Different people experience it differently, but Tinnitus Awareness Week encourages us to talk about the condition and also to talk about what support might be needed for those affected, and also to promote research into effective treatments. And today we're going to continue the conversation that we started yesterday with Edgar Triay. Anselmo Torres is here. Good afternoon, Anselmo.
Hi, good afternoon, Jonathan.
And you're here to tell us about your late wife Grace and her tinnitus journey.
So that's correct. Tinnitus is a broad spectrum of afflictions because it can start anywhere. The main source obviously is loud sounds and noises. When we talk about noises, I mean retorts from guns, sirens, anything sharp, factory noises, and sounds, mainly music. Although we say music is is good, but music can be dangerous also.
If you're at a nightclub next to a speaker which is filling the room with music, but you're sort of 50 centimeters away from it, you're likely to be in trouble.
That's correct. A lot of people come out, especially youth, come out of the discos and say, "Oh, I've got like a ringing, But then, luckily enough, it goes away in the morning. But when people have it and it stays there, day in, day out, you wake up with it and you go to bed with it, then it's a different story. Now, my experience with it, obviously, because I started from the very beginning, I also helped Edgar with the setting up of the guitar at the very beginning.
The Hearing Issues and Tinnitus Association.
That's correct, yes, because Grace had it. She got it very young age, in her early 20s. One day she was having a bath, a shower, and she came out, as women do, and she washed her hair and she rubbed the towel around it, the ring, to rinse it. She had her head down, and when she came up, she said, "I've got like a ringing in my ears." It was a ringing there, because maybe it goes off. Sometimes we put it down to earwax or to something else. And that prolonged over the years. Unfortunately, that didn't go away the next day, but it stayed there, and it increased in intensity until it became an acute sort of condition for her. We cannot say an illness, but a condition. And obviously, I went all over the place. I went to the specialists, the best specialists in Germany.
Did you and Grace know what it was immediately? Did you identify it as tinnitus?
I didn't identify it as tinnitus because I didn't know anything about it then. I knew a little bit because I have a little bit of a medical background myself. And I started investigating, obviously, because I wanted to help as maximum, because I couldn't see how, as it got worse over the years, the suffering that she was going through, this was causing a lot of, different, afflictions in her normal life, in her working life, in her house life with the children, with noises. So I got myself into it quite a bit, and I talked to specialists both online, on the web, on the phone, and I actually visited places, in UK, in Belgium, as I mentioned, and in Germany, the top people at the time, which were very helpful in trying to find ways. The problem starts that when you damage your ear, which is the most basic form, it starts in the ear, but it can start if you have an accident, you bang your head, you fall your back, the vertebrae, the bones in your face and your jaw can sometimes produce that because they are connected to the ear.
Right, I didn't know that.
See, it does produce it. And those can be cured in a certain form, but those can produce it. But the ones in the ear, what happens is that in the cochlea, we have the hair cells. It's a solid, shut down organ. You cannot open it, you can't do anything to it, right? And the hair cells are there in a vacuum, and they move around to produce the sound. Well, in tinnitus people, what happens is when you damage them, is the hair cells have a normal resting position where there's no sound.
Right.
Then they move one way or another.
With the sound.
With the sound. But in tinnitus people, they stay locked in the certain position which They are vibrating and producing a sound.
So producing sound when other people wouldn't hear the sound.
Wouldn't hear it. So they have a sound produced all the time. That goes to the brain. Now, the people say we have it in here. No. Eventually, the brain takes over and the sound is produced inside the brain. The plasticity of the brain is such that this sound has to be processed by the brain. Any sound that comes into the ears is processed. But with the tinnitus, what happens is that the brain has created a database since we are born young, where you assimilate a visual picture to a sound, your mother's voice to her face, a sound of a car, a sound of a rattle, anything, and you start assimilating, creating this database, which the brain starts accumulating. Now, when tinnitus, what happens, this sound goes to the brain says, this sound is rubbish, this sound is not good. It actually, the brain clears it, but what happens, the sound comes up again, and it produces a loop. And it's a vicious circle. The sound comes in, the loop, the sound is thrown away, it comes in again, and it's thrown away, it's come in, and it's around the circle loop. So that's why it cannot be stopped. Now, the research that's going on is to find ways of going into the audio cortex, where they know the areas nowadays, but with technology, obviously this will happen, whereby they can go deep inside, enough deep inside with electron microscopes and computer technology, aided scanners and so forth, where they can find the wiring, where this wiring is producing this sound and it's linking it to that, and they can cut it.
So there's hope.
There's hope for people in the future, yes, with the new technology advancing. There's also pharmaceutical products out there which help to reduce it. But at the same time, because Grace has tried them all, she tried the whole show. It affects your other systems in the body. Actually, it puts you a bit slower there. But it does reduce, because what these pharmaceutical products do is they go in between the different transmitters, the neuron transmitters,
in your brain,
and block it, and try and block the passage of sounds. The sound becomes less intense. It's slower, but it has a certain effect on yourself. And obviously, the most frequently one used today nowadays are the maskers, the masking sounds, either white noise. You can use sounds from nature. Water is very effective, ripples, streams, where it calms you down a little bit, and you more or less mask that sound, and you can take care of your day. So it doesn't make sense.
That is to actually have, for example, white noise playing in the background to mask your perceived tinnitus sound.
Because the tinnitus sound, you don't actually get rid of it, and the masking has to be, it's not over the top, it's just slightly below the sound, but it makes the brain sort of, be a little bit less concentrated on the tinnitus sound and see this starts processing this masking sound. So it more or less hides it for you, and you can get on with the day. Obviously, the influence of this is stress, because people wake up and go to bed at night and they're hearing, any stressful situation will increase this tremendously. It also has the effect on your hearing. You will get hearing loss. That's definitely. Patients with tinnitus will get hearing loss if they progress and they become acute sufferers of tinnitus. And that is a problem, because when you get hearing loss, you lose it in your high frequencies, right? And the masking has to be lower down. And you have to start after wearing hearing aids for that. There are hearing aids with masking at the same time, amplifying normal sound so you can hear, but they also mask. You have white noise incorporated to it, which you can compensate for that and actually adjust it to the sounds.
Interesting. I mean, you sound like a subject matter expert, I have to say, Anselmo.
In fact, I am not just to
you don't need to blow your own trumpet.
Exactly.
I don't think trumpet is your.
It's just because I had, out of necessity, Jonathan. It was out of necessity because I saw my wife suffer so much with this. So much, you can imagine, even wanting to die. I have friends who have committed suicide because of this. And I have stories, because, it can get so bad. It can get so bad and so out of control in some people that it's, it's a solid state. It's like cancer. It's the research, as you mentioned before, it's, unfortunately, it started very late, not like cancer, which has been going on for long. When they realized that this was a serious problem, especially the problems that the military had in America and in Israel, funnily enough. In Israel, they had a lot of problems because of the wars and the shooting with the guns, the gunnery people involved, sergeants, people involved in the ranges, suffering tremendously. And the governments were spending a lot of money in paying compensation So
they are trying to get to the bottom of it now.
they started, the American Tinnitus Association is a very big, organization, and you can find information there about this,
All right.
where they started research on that.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Anselmo Torres, to talk about Tinnitus Awareness Week and your experiences of it with your late wife, Grace, who we all were so fond of. And we're going to talk about another topic in just a moment, but thank you, and we're going to play a song that I think you have chosen by Luther Vandross. Thank you, Anselmo, for joining us.
Welcome, Jonathan. Anytime you need anything, just give me a call.